Some of them are fairly obvious, at least they're topics that a lot of people are talking about today. They don't necessarily have a grip on. So one such example would be location-based marketing, location-based targeting. The idea that people will be checking in, or at least will have a way to follow them. We think about some of the emerging platforms such as Foursquare and Gowalla and Looped and so on, understanding who's doing what when. I think there's a problem there. I think companies are rushing into that one a little bit too quickly. They know that that's the next step, and they're going to find it to be somewhat disappointing. So I think people need to be much more careful with some of these location-based services. There's a chance that the whole market could kind of implode and disappear before it even has an opportunity to take off. There's concerns about privacy, obviously. There's concerns about the volume of data that will be collected. There's concerns about exactly which person should be targeted. If we know all of these people who are walking by our stores, which ones should we go after? Do we want to spam all of them? So there's a lot of really big questions when it comes to location-based marketing. But I think it is a safe bet that if no one really messes it up, that it will be kind of a mainstream part of our economy as we move ahead. I think another emerging trend, and it's been too slow to emerge, but it's finally here thanks to the launch of the iPad, is publishers finally establishing proper business models that are going to let them take advantage of, or at least survive, in this new era. The iPad has almost overnight changed all that. They realized that kind of technology is going to be here to stay. And so the technology has forced them to change their practices. Let's think a little bit more carefully about getting people to pay for content, about coming up with subscription models, about changing the way that we present the content, about changing the very kind of content that we're offering out there. The conversations that have been taking place just over the last year along these lines have been a great step forward compared to the previous 10 years of basically nothing. So it's hard to say how it's going to play out. But I think that these publishers will be, and they are seriously changing their practices. And one of the themes that both of these topics have in common, the location-based marketing and the publishers changing their practices, it gets back to individual level data. It gets back to companies trying to understand who is where when, or who is reading or consuming what kind of content when, and other contextual issues around that. What other kinds of behaviors are they doing? So besides walking by the Starbucks, where else were they before that? Or besides reading content on NewYorkTimes.com, what other kinds of activities are they doing at the same time? And so integrating these different kinds of behaviors and knowing how it varies by context, how it varies by person, we are now on the verge of an explosive revolution in that way. And we like to believe that here with the Wharton Interactive Media Initiative, that we kind of have the secret formula to help companies do that better. I think that trend, unlike the other two, isn't really on the radar of a lot of companies just yet. They're pursuing different kinds of technologies, whether it's location-based or subscription models for content. But the commonality is the data. And they're going to realize we've got to really do something with this data, and they'll be much more proactive about finding ways to use it and really changing the shape, the structure of the organization to put the data front and center, to put the individual level customer behavior right in the bullseye of the kinds of activities that they're going to be doing. And I think that's going to be a big source of change over the next 10 years.